The Forbes cover shows up 20 years after the warehouse nights nobody photographed. You see the IPO bell ceremony and think luck separated winners from everyone else. Well, you're wrong. What actually separates them is thousands of hours of unglamorous grind you never witness. The boring, brutal repetition that happens when investors say no and customers hang up. Case in point, it's 1998, somewhere around Clearwater, Florida. A 27-year-old woman is selling fax machines door to door in the Florida heat for $7 an hour. Her name is Sarah Blakely. She has a communications degree from Florida State. She's failed the LSAT twice, and Disney World has just rejected her for being 2 inches too short to play Goofy. Now she's knocking on office doors, getting kicked out of buildings. People rip up her business card in front of her face. Some days she doesn't make a single sale.
Growing up, my dad used to encourage my brother and me to fail, and he would ask us at the dinner table what we had failed at that week, and if we didn't have something to tell him, he would actually be disappointed.
Every single night after those rejections, Blakely goes home and works on something else. She'd been cutting the feet off her pantyhose because she hated how the seams looked under white pants. Turned out the footless version looked smoother and didn't roll up. Now she thinks it could be a real business. She has $5,000 in savings, no business experience, no industry connections, no investors. Just a prototype and the willingness to do what nobody else would do. She writes her own patent to save money, calls manufacturers herself. By the way, every single one says no. But then one day, a mill owner calls back. So she flies to North Carolina on her own dime and convinces them in person. From there, she moves on to department stores. Neiman Marcus, Saks, Bloomingdale's.
I went online and looked up manufacturers. I called them on the phone and didn't get anywhere. Most of them escorted me out and said good luck.
She doesn't have a sales team at this point. She is her own sales team. So she flies herself to Dallas, walks into Neiman Marcus headquarters, and models the product in the bathroom to prove it works. It works. She gets the order. And then every night after that, she sits on her apartment floor, stuffing Spanx into envelopes and mailing them herself while still working her day job. Hopefully you see clearly here that the moral of the story isn't talent, it's repetition. Nobody else was willing to endure. So what separates billion-dollar founders from everyone else who wants to build a billion-dollar company? 3 simple yet brutal truths most entrepreneurs learn too late. Insight 1. The real work happens in the years nobody watches. Sarah Blakely spent 7 years getting doors slammed in her face selling fax machines before she started Spanx. Most people would call those 7 years wasted. Know what Blakely calls them? Essential. Those rejections taught her to think on her feet, to not take no seriously, and to get to the heart of a pitch in 30 seconds before someone slammed the door. When Blakely launched Spanx, she had 0 marketing budget. She had to pay friends to show up at store demonstrations and act excited. She even hand-wrote a note to Oprah Winfrey and sent a prototype. And obviously, it worked. Oprah featured Spanx as one of her favorite things in 2000. And from then on, sales exploded from $4 million to $10 million overnight. But the Oprah appearance only happened because Blakely had already mastered the art of the cold pitch through 7 years of rejection. The unsexy reps made the sexy moment possible. Fast forward to 2012, and Blakely had become the youngest self-made female billionaire in history. Up until 2021, when she sold to Blackstone, Blakely owned 100% of Spanx. No outside investors, no dilution. How? She refused to scale before she mastered the fundamentals. She put every dollar earned back into the business. She grew slow and kept control while her competitors took venture capital and lost their companies. In other words, she chose the reps over the flashy. Wondering if this was just a fluke? It wasn't. Here's a completely different industry with the same pattern. Howard Schultz spent a year after college selling appliances door to door before discovering Starbucks. When he joined Starbucks in 1982, it was just 6 stores selling coffee beans, not coffee drinks. The founders refused his vision to create coffee bars. So Schultz quit. Raised money to start his own competing chain called Il Giornale. Opened 3 locations, proved the model worked. Then, in 1987, he He bought Starbucks from the founders for $4 million. Today, Starbucks generates over $35 billion annually. But here's what matters. Schultz didn't skip steps. He didn't start with 1,000 stores. He mastered 3. The boring reps, opening stores, training baristas, perfecting the model. It was those repetitions that then built the billion-dollar blueprint.
I began the conversation by asking him and Howard why so many American companies who come here, it fails all too often, but at least for Starbucks right now, they've made it work.
We've been here 18 years, and many people don't realize for the first 9 years, we were not very successful. And so there was a lot of pressure on us early on to kind of close the tent and say it's not going to work. But I think we had to have patience, and we had to have a deep commitment to being locally relevant and understanding the consumer.
Insight 2, volume beats strategy, when strategy avoids volume.
Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.
When Elon Musk claims you need to work 80 to 100 hours a week to change the world, most people dismiss it as toxic hustle culture. Problem is, they're missing the point. The math is actually pretty clear. If your competition works 40 hours and you work 100, you complete in 4 months what takes them a year. Besides, Musk isn't talking about mindless hours. He's talking about iteration speed. More at-bats, more experiments, more failures fast enough to learn from. When Blakely launched Spanx, she personally handled everything. Product design, patent filing, manufacturer negotiations, distribution, customer service, marketing, all of it. This wasn't because she was a control freak. It was because she couldn't afford to hire anyone. Lucky for her, that forced repetition made her understand every lever in her business better than any MBA could teach. Same with Schultz. When Starbucks faced bankruptcy threats in 2008, Schultz returned as CEO. First move, he shut down every single Starbucks location for an afternoon to retrain baristas on making proper espresso.
I'm not going to be able to get a cup of coffee at Starbucks at least for 3 hours today. I find this really hard to believe. They're going to shut down every Starbucks starting at 5:30. Now, is that East Coast time?
But probably local time, wherever you are.
Oh, so wherever you are at 5:30 for 3 hours, they're going to shut down Starbucks.
It's a good idea.
7,100 stores closed, costing millions in lost revenue, all just to practice making coffee correctly. Strategy didn't save Starbucks. Repetitions did. Getting back to the fundamentals, the boring reps of making great coffee, that's what turned around an $84 billion company. But most founders want the shortcut, the hack, the strategy that skips the grind. The bad news is, there isn't one. Blakely made 1,000 cold calls before she got her first yes. Schultz pitched over 240 investors before raising his first $1 million. If you want the glory, then you must be prepared for the humiliation ritual that comes first. Insight 3. The moment you want to quit is when billionaires double down. Year 2000. Spanx hits $4 million in revenue. Blakely makes a decision that every advisor tells her is insane. She refuses all outside funding, keeps 100% ownership, grows only as fast as cash flow allows. Why? Because she watched other founders give up control for fast money and lose their companies. She chose the slow, hard path, the one that required more reps, more patience, more discipline. The result? By 2021, when Blackstone acquired a majority stake, Spanx was valued at $1.2 billion. Blakely walked away with over $600 million personally and became a billionaire again, all because she stuck it out with boring and never diluted. Yes, the years between 2000 and 2021 were unsexy. No headlines, no hype, just repeating the fundamentals, which can be brutally boring in a generation wired to thrive on dopamine hits. Still, Blakely made it work. She kept making great products, kept serving customers, kept growing sustainably, and she did this for 21 years. 21 whole years of reps, while competitors who took the fast money either sold for pennies or shut down one after the order. And once you know where to look, you immediately begin to see the patterns everywhere you find successful people. For instance, A study tracking over 233 self-made millionaires found that 50% wake up at least 3 hours before work starts. Not because they're morning people, but because that's when they do the real work nobody sees. 88% also dedicate 30 minutes daily to self-improvement through reading. But it's not 30 minutes once, it's 30 minutes every single day for years. Most people read one business book and expect transformation. Billionaires, on the other hand, read 300 books over 5 years and become unrecognizable. Why? Again, because putting in the reps is hard, and most people don't like doing hard things. Perhaps you think, not me, I love to do the hard things. Perhaps you think you're working really hard. But do you? Sure, compared to most people, you're probably really hard working. But honestly, compared to billionaire founders, you're not even close. Look, Blakely and Schultz aren't motivational stories. They are operational blueprints, the boring, brutal systems that separate billionaires from everyone who just wants to be a billionaire. So, here's your action for this week, and it's not complicated. Pick the one business skill you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable. Cold calling, cold emailing, pitching investors, recording video content, whatever you're dodging. Now, commit to doing it every single day for the next 7 days. Not when you feel ready, not when it's convenient. Every single day. Next, set a calendar reminder right now for tomorrow morning. When that alarm goes off and every part of you wants to skip it, remember, that's where average founders quit and billionaires start. Because the truth is simple, and it's not changing. Everyone wants the billion-dollar exit, but nobody wants the 1,000 rejections that come before it. But guess what? The alarm will go off again tomorrow morning. And somewhere around the world, a billionaire would have been awake for hours by then. You, however, would be faced with a decision: snooze or start. At that point, it would be your move. What are you going to do?